There's a video out there that went viral, and it went to over 1 million views. That video wasn't by one of the people that has their own YouTube channel. It was by a delegate in Virginia, and that was Delegate Nick Freitas. He did such a powerful talk on the floor of the House of Delegates that, again, it went viral. Nick has a very strong understanding of rights and liberties. He's a strong fighter for those. Well, he's a fighter in general. This guy was in the military. He served multiple terms in Iraq. He was a light infantry division as an infantryman and Green Berets. I mean, this guy is a typical hero, a national hero. This guy has put it all in there, and he's not wanting to give up on just giving to his country that way, which was one of the most powerful ways you can give back to your country, is put your life on the line in some foreign country to protect our rights. No, he went on to become a delegate in the House of Delegates in Virginia, and he has stood solidly with gun rights. He doesn't waver, he doesn't flinch. He's an eloquent speaker. I don't know where he learned to speak, but I tell you what, I don't think the military teaches you this. I think it's just a talent he has. But he has a very, very clear way of speaking and getting the point across, and he will grab your attention. Nick has invited me into his office to sit down and talk about plain facts as we're looking at how we can fight gun control or get some of the bills passed. And he's put in some wonderful bills for us. He stood up and he in a committee and he killed bill after bill after bill of this gun control that they tried to pass some years ago. He's an excellent speaker, and I know you'll enjoy his presentation.
Hi, this is Delegate Nick Freitas, representing the 30th House District in the Virginia General Assembly, House of Delegates, and I just want to welcome all the VCDL members to Lobby Day. Not exactly the Lobby Day we'd prefer. We'd much rather be in person down at the Capitol, having an opportunity to talk to you, to answer questions, but I'm really appreciative of VCDL for continuing to push forward to lobby for our Second Amendment rights, despite the fact that session is going to be very, very different in 2021. There's a couple updates I want to give each of you as you're tracking legislation that goes through the process. One of the most important things that you can do is sign up for VCDL updates, because they're going to be tracking this legislation. I am telling you, there is nobody in Richmond that tracks gun legislation, even legislation that might not appear to be pro-gun or anti-gun, but has implications for our Second Amendment rights. VCDL does a great job of tracking it. You want to sign up for those email updates so that you can be up to date on everything that's going on, because this is also going to be an abbreviated session. We typically do 45 days for a short session. This year, we're only doing 30. So things are going to be moving very, very quickly. A bill is going to be from subcommittee to full committee to the floor and then passed over to the second house before you know it. And so it's really important that you're in tune with those updates as it's happening. I also want to emphasize that last year, the Democrats had all the votes they needed in order to pass some of the most extreme gun legislation that we've seen in Virginia in decades. The only reason they didn't pass a lot of it was because you showed up. You showed up in record numbers. You showed up. It was a peaceful protest. You guys picked up your trash when you left, despite all of the angst that a lot of people tried to push on that protest. You conducted yourselves as patriots. You conducted yourselves professionally, and it helped make us make an incredible argument for why a lot of that anti-gun legislation should not have passed. And we're going to need you to do the same thing this year, because Democrats feel emboldened, and they are coming after our Second Amendment rights in a big way. The whole lie of nobody wants to take your guns was proved to be just that, a lie. Last year, when they submitted gun legislation that would have actually led to confiscation. I got in a floor debate with Delegate Mark Levine, and he, in this kind of coy way, said, well, there's nothing in this bill that talks about confiscation. To which I pointed out that no, you just make it illegal to own. So just because you're not going in and confiscate it doesn't mean you haven't criminalized law-abiding gun owners for owning weapons that are clearly protected by the Second Amendment. So we need you to be engaged. I know there's been a lot of frustration lately with everything from election law to election outcomes. But the bottom line is the fight to defend our Second Amendment rights is never one that's ultimately won. It's one that has to be fought continually by people that care about it. And I also want to talk to you about something else that is really important. Obviously, engaging in the political realm is critical to protecting our right to keep and bear arms. But in addition to that, the education side is also very important. The reason why a lot of people either don't care about the Second Amendment or are actively trying to gut it or get rid of it is because they don't understand the value that a free people owning firearms actually creates, not just for the person that owns it, but for a free society in general. And so the more that you can do within your neighborhood, within your family, within your community, to be able to expose people to responsible gun ownership, to talk about the reason why it's so important. I'll never forget a debate I was in with a candidate once who rattled off that a well-regulated militia, and so therefore she thought that gave her the ability to significantly infringe on Second Amendment rights. We went through the process of explaining that no, when the Second Amendment says a well-regulated militia being necessary for the security of a free state, comma, the right of the people to keep and bear arms shall not be infringed. Our founders were actually making two arguments for the Second Amendment. The first argument with the well-regulated militia had to do with their understanding that in order for a free society to remain free, you had to have a populace that was armed and ready to use it in defense of the state. The second part of the argument recognizes that your right to defend yourself and therefore your right to keep and bear arms precedes government. The Second Amendment is not a right that has been granted to you by the state. The Second Amendment is your right, is an acknowledgement of a pre-existing right which the government has an obligation to protect. And it's really important that we make this comprehensive argument. It's really important that if you have a friend that's never shot a firearm before, take them to the range with you. I can't tell you how many people I know who thought they were scared of guns, ended up really appreciating it once they had some exposure. And as we've seen over the last several months, gun ownership has increased significantly to include a lot of first-time gun owners that were quite frankly very frustrated about the rigmarole they had to go to in order to own a firearm or to be able to conceal carry. And so the more that we can present a logical, well-reasoned argument for why the Second Amendment exists and why it's important for individual safety, for the safety of your family, and also for the safety of the country, the better off that we're going to be in the future. So once again, thank you to all the members of VCDL. Thank you to the staff that works so hard to advocate for our Second Amendment rights. And thank you for continuing to stay engaged. We need you now more than ever. I'm Nick Freitas, delegate for the 30th District in the Virginia House of Delegates, and I look forward to seeing you as soon as we can.